you. Today's session is going to be based on any questions that you might have about the project. So if other people join us, then you're welcome to stay and listen to their questions, but it's also not impolite to leave if you want to. So what's going on with you?
Not much. I mean, I've been sort of thinking about like what issue I wanted to pick, but I did have a few questions on exactly what we could pick.
Okay.
So I don't know if like you could give a few examples just so I know, like, because I don't know, it's just a bit confusing to me.
Okay. All right. That's a great question. So the sample up here was about police brutality, right?
Yeah.
You need to be thinking about what kind of information is given as though it were real and true, where people aren't really checking up on it. So for example, in my classes face-to-face, I had a group do it based on food advertising, right? I had another group do it on, I had the police brutality. I had them do it on sexism and the Me Too movement. I had them do it on, they chose to do it on, gosh, the police brutality one that I showed you was one of my favorites. And so that's the one that keeps coming to my head. But it's anything that is current within the last 10 years, issues that where they're saying, here, this is true, and you believe it because you really don't know how to go back and investigate what is the truth or not the truth. I had one group look at what happened in Las Vegas with the shootings that happened a little over a year ago, and how the news media portrayed what happened and then what was left out of it. Okay, so it's the idea of trying to figure out an issue where things aren't happening the way that maybe you think they ought to be happening. Information is reported in a way that's not exactly accurate. And then you're going to give how it's presented. You're going to come up with other sources that showcase what is really happening. And then you're going to showcase how to go about finding whether something is accurate or not. And I've given you some of those sources that you can actually utilize, and or you can utilize other sources that you find as well. And I'm requiring that you choose at least one source from the library. What that source is completely up to you. It could be about your topic, or it could be about finding out whether or not the how to determine whether something is fake or fallacious or real. So it's up to you. Are there any ideas that you've been thinking about?
Not really. I mean, I saw like the police brutality one that you posted, but I don't know. I get kind of stuck when it comes to like, because I feel like this is more political.
It doesn't have to be political. It absolutely, like I said, the one with the food, I had actually 2 or 3 different ones with food because I did this in more than one class. And one group did it on diets and how people say, you should do the keto diet, you should do the vegan diet, you should, where diets are really being pushed, and then really kind of pulling back and realizing that you need to do the research yourself and not just believe what is being put out there. I had another group on food do it based on what's being advertised with certain fast food restaurants and the truth of what's being advertised versus what's being received, and the expectations based on the cost and everything, things that you should take into consideration. So it doesn't have to be political. It can be any issue where somebody is putting out information that is not being validated, that is not being looked into. It could be political, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
So it should be something that you think is important.
Okay.
So, and it could be that you have this idea and you're going, okay, they're telling us this, but it's really this. And then you're using your powers of research to research what the truth is. And the reality is maybe it's part of both. But the idea of if somebody's trying to sell you something, sell you on an idea, persuade you on an idea, what is it that you can do to look at what it could potentially really be? Okay. And it could be based off a particular happening, or it could be based off of a pattern or a type of product. Okay, so like I said, somebody decided that they wanted to talk specifically about the Las Vegas shooting and took us through the whole thing about what happened during and after, and how the people had negative feedback given to them as people who were victims, and the victims felt like the real information didn't get out there to the public. So that sort of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's lots of things you can choose. So it could be about music. It could be about laws. Like I'm thinking about one of the big issues that we really have is the issue of homelessness and how to deal with homelessness in the state of California, and whether or not the way we're dealing with it, what's really true, what's not true. Others is like dealing with traffic or pollution, but it could be something such as it could be about music. It could be about cost of going to school. It could be anything that you find to be interesting. Okay, so could, political, non-political, but something where somebody's putting out information and then you are trying to look and see whether that information is true or not. So do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask?
For the sources, you mentioned that, so one of them has to be from the library,
Yes.
but for the other 5, were you thinking just like any articles that we find, or?
It could be anything that you, like, for example, you need to find, for whatever issue it is, you need to find a source that actually showcases this is what the audience is seeing, right? So that's a source. And there might be several of those sources. It could be more than one source from the library if you want. You can use more than 6 sources too. I'm just requiring you to cite 6 because some people might want to use more visuals or short films or things that they want to put in, but they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to cite 20 things. And so that's why I'm like, okay, 6 seems fair. So.
Even when we put a photo in the video, that counts as a source?
Yes, it does.
I mean, like a image or
Yes.
something?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is why I said you just need to cite your 6. One of them being the library source. Yeah.
Okay.
And the audience are your peers. It's not me. Okay? So I'm going to be looking to see that you fulfill the parameters, but you need to be thinking about what your peers might relate to. It should be something that captures their attention and is actually useful. Okay? So again, I'm going to read the purpose. It says, as responsible citizens, our job is to be aware and critically question whether or not the decisions being made by those in power are ethical, and to spot pseudo-reasoning and other fallacies found in editorial text and take part in intellectual resistance by creating an educational video. Okay, So the pseudo reasoning could come in the source of, in the genre of social media if you want. So it could be where you're finding your topic can be where people, your peers, are looking for it. Okay. So I had one person do it on trying to, like, fake things being placed out in the false stories, such as, gosh, I'm trying to think of the one. There was a YouTube story recently where there was I'm forgetting what the little thing was called, but it told parents you need to be careful because in YouTube videos, this little guy is popping up and telling kids to commit suicide. And it turned out that that story was completely false. But it was all over, and parents were having conversations with their kids about this thing, and it wasn't even a real thing, you know? So I don't remember what it was called, but it was like somebody did theirs on that. Yeah. So it could be something really small. It could be something bigger. It's up to you.
Yeah.
And it's okay that right at first you don't know exactly what you want to do. I mean, whenever I have written an essay and things, it takes me time to figure it out too. I don't always know right away.
I was sort of thinking of, well, just now, thinking of doing it on like something regarding like the Apple company and how like there was a thing a while back where they were purposely malfunctioning phones so that they would force you to like upgrade it basically.
Okay.
But I feel like recently I haven't heard anything about that. And like, because I heard that there was going to be a lawsuit, but I don't know what happened with that. And
You could look into that. You could absolutely look into that. And again, so what you're going to want to do is that you could look into that story. You could see where it is right now, and you could also check and see what should consumers do when they are actually trying to go out and find smartphones that work well but also are affordable, right? So that actually could be something that you do. That's, absolutely. And you could decide that you start looking into it and go, I don't want to do that. But it is a topic you absolutely could do. Are there any other thoughts that you're thinking about maybe doing?
um, not really. Anything that kept coming to mind right now was just stuff involving Apple.
That's fine.
Because I feel like there's been a lot of controversy with them.
Right.
Lately.
Now, do you like, I have a Mac and I also have an iPhone. Do you have an iPhone or do you use?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just recently got a new phone too, and it was like a whole confusing process. So I'm like, it's very recent in my head.
That's not bad. That's actually a very good topic. So which phone did you end up getting?
I got the XR, but
Wait, which one?
the iPhone XR.
What is that?
I don't know. It's honestly the new ones that they came out with all look the same to me, so I just picked one.
Well, that's actually, I think that's good. I have an iPhone 7S, I think, and I'm thinking about upgrading soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. The reason why I upgraded was because I just woke up one morning and my phone was going crazy for no reason.
And so the question is, how often are you supposed to be doing the upgrading? I'm not upgrading, but updating, right? When do you update? And that's a huge question, is like, should you do the updates right away? Should you wait? What's going on with updates, and does it slow other things down? Like, because I have an update for my computer that I've been avoiding for a long time, right? Because I'm in the middle of a semester. And one time I updated something in the middle of the semester and it didn't go well. It kept me offline for a while. And so that's the thing. You do have to consider those things. So yeah, you could look into that. You could look into, okay, you're trying to shop for a phone. And let's say you're like iPhones. So how do you go about doing that? What are they telling you? You know, we're getting advertised that we need new phones all the time. There's articles that say, you know, if you don't get the new phone, then your phone's going to be slowed down. Is that really real? You could do it, yours on that. And I think everybody would find it to be really important. So, because it's going to be something that we consistently have to do, right? We consistently have to upgrade our phones every few years or so. So I would appreciate seeing it, you know. So, all right. Do you have any other questions?
No, that's all.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I think your peers will appreciate this as well. So thank you for taking the time to come to this and ask your questions. I'm looking forward to your project.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll stop the meeting and you have a good weekend. And next week, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah. Have a good weekend.
You too. Take care.